Jason Kenney. Jason Kenney doesn't know well enough to go away. Like the fact that he is even out there
Say,
tweeting,
saying
posting,
things. Yeah.
saying things like just go away into obscurity. You know what Danielle Smith did? She did like a sabbatical in the wilderness, as you pointed out. She said, I didn't think people wanted to hear from me. And it's
Right.
true, we weren't ready to hear from her.
Right.
And so she just went away and thought about what she had done and then sort of rebuilt her reputation and reassessed her opinions.
Oh,
And
she went through a whole chrysalis. Like think
oh,
butterfly creation.
the greatest redemptive arc in Canadian history.
Just gorgeous. Yes.
Yeah.
Emerged a beautiful, beautiful creature from
Yeah.
that terrible dark time
No.
of what happened before. It was
Jason
great.
Kenney is emerging as a moth who's coming to eat all the holes out of into your clothes. That he's not a beautiful butterfly. He's coming out of his pupal state as just a moth that gets attracted to light and just messes it up.
Yes. Yes. A bothersome moth.
Here
Comes
he
out at
is.
night, attracted to
Here he is.
darkness, works in
Yeah.
darkness. And I do think that there's some machining happening in the background with all
No,
of the things that, that all of the things that Jason Kenney is saying have an explanation, but it just hasn't been revealed yet. And I'll say the same thing for Doug Ford, and I'll say the same thing for Mark Carney. But there are some things afoot here that Jason Kenney tends to reveal to us
yeah.
on the internet, and we should pay attention to Jason more, I think.
I wish we didn't pay attention to him.
I know. Just for the time being, though.
I mean, I watch him the same way I listen to CBC radio sometimes, just to know what the other side is saying.
That's so funny.
To check my own bias. It's like, oh no, Sheila, you're right to have disdain for these people.
So
You are right.
I think a lot of us do that to just get our compass and our moorings. Listen to the mainstream media just to see how captured and ideologically driven it is, and then we shut it off and go, wow, have I come a long way? Because let's not forget, we were all consumers of that mainstream media up until a point, until they betrayed us. And then our eyes were opened. We started thinking on behalf of ourselves, and we became better rounded people. But man.
Let's hear what Mothra has to say. So, Jason Kenney, first of all, he does the obligatory congratulatory tweet to Pierre Poilievre, of whom I think he's probably quite jealous of, because he would be that guy if he had been the guy we thought he was. That we were his, I think it would have went Premier of Alberta, leader of the Conservative Party, next Prime Minister of Canada, I think, and that's sort of what was presumed after Stephen Harper stepped down, right? Without that middle step of having to come to Alberta, but he saw the opportunity and took it, and he would have built a leadership record for himself if he had been any kind of leader, but that instead he chose to be the real Jason Kenney. So he said, this by-election result once again unmasks the Alberta separatist movement as a completely empty shell. The two separatist candidates, one from the ironically named United Party of Canada, got 1.5% of the vote between them in the riding that would be ground zero for separatist sentiment. Every riding now is ground zero for separatist sentiment if you ask these people, because before it was the by-election at the provincial level in Old Didsbury, but now the candidate whose campaign slogan was Canada First won over 80% of the vote. This follows the separatist humiliation in a provincial by-election 2 months ago, in the only riding ever to select a separatist in Alberta, back at the height of the National Energy Program. This is a clear message that the effort and noise around a referendum on secession is a pointless distraction from the important work of building a stronger, more prosperous Alberta and fighting for needed reforms in Ottawa. Let's get on with that job. This is a gross misunderstanding of the separatist movement.
I was just going to say, thank you very much, Sheila. This is not an indictment of the separatist movement in Alberta and Saskatchewan, but I feel like the people of Alberta and Saskatchewan are very much viewing these two things as separate. We know that we need to work within the federal government until we decide what's next for us. And so this is not at all saying what Jason Kenney thinks it's saying. What Jason Kenney is doing right here is revealing his extreme bias in, in trying to convince himself that the separatist movement in the West is just a big old nothing burger because Jason Kenney doesn't know the people of Alberta or Saskatchewan.
Right. I have not met a single person in Battle River Crowfoot, and I should tell you, it's the riding next door, so I poke around in there a fair bit. I have many, 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 many friends who live there. In fact, I'm just sort of in the Texarkana of a couple of ridings. Like I'm just on the edge of my own riding, but I could also, if I lived kind of across the street, I would be in Shannon Stubbs, and if I lived across the street kind of the other way, I would be in Battle River Crowfoot. So, he doesn't understand that the rejection of the separatist politicians is not a rejection of separatism. It's a rejection of a partisan party structure around the separatist movement. And every single person I spoke to who lived in Old Didsbury or in Battle River Crowfoot said, I'm not risking sending an NDPer to Edmonton or Bonnie Critchley to Ottawa to leave this country. I'm not risking that. We have another vehicle for that. Like if you look at the number of people who identify as UCP voters and supporters who support separation, it's a circle. The Venn diagram, as they say, is a circle. Right. It's like 70 or 80%. And it would likely be the same because they're the same people who vote federal conservative. It's probably the same. They're saying, yeah, I support the federal conservatives. Of course I do. But if you give me the opportunity, I'm pulling the chute and I'm out of here. And so they're not mutually exclusive. And to think that they are mutually exclusive is a misunderstanding of the real fear Albertans have of sending an NDP government to Edmonton or a bit. Look, we'll never be responsible for the fact that there's a Liberal government in Ottawa, but we also don't want to be a part of it either, especially in rural Alberta.
Well, and that's exactly the point, Sheila Gunn Reid. Not only are they two completely separate issues, but the people of Alberta are smart enough to know that they don't need Pierre Poilievre's permission to want to leave Canada. They don't. It's not even a conversation that they would probably talk to him about. They view his role very differently as their representative in Ottawa, whereas they can still want better for themselves and want to leave the country and still support the Conservative Party of Canada on a federal level. Like those two things can happen concurrently. The people of Alberta know it, and Jason Kenney doesn't know what's coming or going.
Like you can say, I want the best person to represent Alberta's interests in Ottawa until such time as we're done with Ottawa.
Yep. That's exactly right. Nothing more to add.
Anyways, I wish you would just go away. Just go be quiet until you figure out why we got rid of you.
Yeah.
Like what the biggest political failure in recent Canadian history is not Poilievre, it's Jason Kenney coming back to Ottawa or from Ottawa to Alberta to be the liberator, to get rid of the NDP. And because he can't be a true conservative, he forgot what the difference between an Alberta conservative versus an Ottawa Carleton type conservative. He came home and he thought they were the same thing and he got run out on a rail. And now he's going to give advice to everybody. Zip it and go wander in the wilderness. Go wrestle with the devil in the wilderness for a bit. Then come back and talk to us.
You come back proper. Come back proper, Jason.
That's the thing. It's like it's actually fascinating. It's a real study in psychology and sociology that he still hasn't figured out anything. Like his reluctance for self-reflection is it's astounding to me. It should be studied by science.
I think it says a thing about the people, the kind of people that Jason Kenney surrounds himself with. Because they're certainly not telling him the truth. Okay, they're certainly not walking him into some deep waters and asking him to doggy paddle out. being pretty shallow with him. He's pretty unaware that his position is not one that's widely accepted in Alberta or the West.
It's his headstrongness in his wrongness. It's quite something to behold. It's really...
He should change all of his bios to that.
Headstrongness in my wrongness.
Yes, Jason Kenney.